there's a very big need for people to have their feet held to the fire, or accountability issue. Like, there needs to be accountability when it comes to people putting out there, like, I have a concern and I have a perspective. I'm like, great. Does your perspective match up with reality? And does it match up with the morality of justice? Like, are we even talking about the same things? Because it's fine to have a thought and have a feeling, but it's better to have an actual argument backed up by data, reasons, evidence.
Right.
All right.
Cool, man. So what'd you think about that, though?
That was it.
That one.
It was good. I was able to have some pretty decent conversation. Got to have some pretty good points. So I was interested. Interesting. I'd like to hear a little bit more about, like, how he was, like, what he learned from his show that he thought was going to be really helpful. Like how he would talk people down and have the hard conversations through the outrage. And then, like, he's also mentioned, like, there are all these different community resources that people could use to effectively navigate some of the issues and bring people together to do some of that, like, parallel stuff. So that could have been something that he could have hammered on a little bit more at the end. But even that, it was good. I enjoyed it. If we had another hour or so, I'd have been like, give me a list of all your community organizations, the things you participated in, their favorite mentoring events, and what I can do tomorrow. Like, I was halfway tempted to be like, where are you living? And what do you do to actively participate in these things around your city? But I'm like, this is kind of doxing that man. I had probably never asked that question that way. There's probably another way to say that. Like,
I think it was successful. I think he's pretty cool dude. And the thing that I really liked about him is it really wasn't Democrats or versus Republicans
right?
type of deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's great. We don't have to sit here talking about nonsense all the time. Just
Right.
my side is better than your side, and my side is better than the other side. The other side's just bad. They're just dumb. They're just evil. They're just insert insult here. It's like, I mean, I hear you. You don't like them. I that is implied. That is understood. It's not helpful, but it is true. I mean, that's where you're coming from. So
Right.
yes, I'm
Yeah.
happy we didn't drop down into a bunch of ideology. I'm also happy we didn't just drop down to a bunch of pseudoscience. I think that's his show has a tendency to go that way. Jackson, sometimes I'm like, we can just skip this part. This is not necessary. I don't need to hear about this. Kind of sort of might be the reason for that. I'm like, it might be, it might not. It's not science. Let's move on. Right? Doesn't
I
doesn't
mean,
doesn't change it.
theory. It's a place for theory.
It's not changing what we're doing now. Right? We get back to that. That'd be awesome. So anyway, I always find that is humorous to me because it's a pet peeve of mine. I'm just like, I would love to never have this conversation. And we didn't. So it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I caught, I don't know, maybe one. I already caught that one episode a long time ago from his show. I caught maybe one or two more. He was bringing up the concept. It was some PhD. She was talking about tribalism, and I mean, to me, it all comes back to the same stuff. I do kind of wish there was a little more, like, detailed insight there, but I don't know. Look, it is what it is.
Yes.
I think,
It makes me very upset to have scientists have such poor philosophy that we end up in a debate about preferences. I'm like, let's stop doing that. Stop doing. You're a
yeah,
scientist. Just tell me what the data showed. Just tell me what the data was, and then tell me if your method, tell me if your hypothesis proved true, or if you disproved it. Let me know, and we can stop.
yeah,
Yes, you don't have to interpret this because I don't. You don't know all the answers, and I don't know all the answers, and I don't need to. I just want to know what the data showed. So I think
yeah,
it's really helpful to have that level of clarity. And right now, I mean, I don't read a lot of journals, but, like, a lot of the things that come out in the scientific community have been they're playing really fast and loose with a lot of these interpretations, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know what to make of all this. I might just be getting the bad stuff. Maybe there's something good out there I'm missing. Anyway, it's frustrating.
I mean, it reminds me of something that I've been thinking about this last week, because essentially, like, even after our conversation last week, it was something that was bugging me about it, right? And then I was thinking about it, and at some point, I come to the conclusion, I'm like, I have a tendency or some sort of orientation towards solutions. So every time I'm talking, that's my orientation.
Right.
And I think what that does is it makes your brain think differently. Because I'm really talking about, like, we talked about the video last week from John McWhorter and Glenn
And
Loury.
now, yeah.
And then, you had a little bit of pushback on it, right? Just because of, I guess, people, it's almost like they were ignoring some of the aspects of, I don't know, black plight or whatever. Let's
Sure.
call it that.
Let's call it that.
And so for me, like, I didn't take as much issue with it. But I understood where you were coming from. But so for me, what it ended up being is like, because I'm solution oriented, I think
Mm-hmm.
I do ignore things. Like, I even made a video about this because it's like I ignore things, but I don't tell people why I'm ignoring the thing within the conversation. It's just my orientation to say, if it doesn't help me solve the problem, I don't care.
Right.
And in a brainstorming e- exercise, it's kind of cool to deal with ideas that are possibles for me. But when we're talking about it's not even that we have to be taught. Well, I'm thinking about solving the problem because politics to me is some goal, some end that we're trying to get to.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not oriented towards solving the problem, you can do this thing, what I would think is called like a whataboutism. Well, what about this? And what about that? And what about those things? But because I'm thinking about a solution, I'm like, that what about doesn't help me get a solution. So therefore, it's out there. It doesn't even matter.
What problem were you trying to solve, you think?
No, I mean, when I'm thinking about the context that they had with their conversation is that we are beyond, and I've seen more of these. He did a talk with Coleman Hughes too, John McWhorter. It's the same
He's just
thing.
hitting all the I like it. That's awesome.
And the concept is basically we are beyond a black grievance era of politics. One of the examples was like Brandon Johnson from Chicago, or whatever his name is, the mayor. He was like, people are tired of these messages. We are beyond black grievance. It just doesn't work anymore. It's not going to be effective as a model for affecting change.
I mean, that's a very bold claim. I'll say it that way.
It's a bold claim, but I guess what all it really comes down to is it's similar to me to what there becomes a fatigue. Just like in the
There's a
medical field,
fatigue.
people talk about fatigue. There's a sympathy fatigue.
Yeah, 100%. That part is yes, exactly what's happening.
Yeah, and people just like, well, I don't give a shit about none of it then. Like, especially if they having struggles themselves too,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like, if I'm all right, I can kind of be compassionate, even though I don't really understand what these people talking about. It's like, well, if I'm in a bad position and I still don't know what these people talk about, I'm just done listening. I just don't. You gotta come to me with something better. And it's not helpful that some of the messages, the way that they're being presented, like, even if I don't know if you caught some of I don't know if it's a media thing or what, but everything is amplified by media.
Yes.
There was a murder case in Texas, Karmelo Anthony. Have you heard about this kid stabbed a kid?
Yeah.
And so he got found guilty last week,
I mean,
sentenced to 35 years.
he stabbed that guy. That happened.
He did. But see, the attention is not being put on that. The attention is in what ways can we soften the blow
Mm-hmm.
for Karmelo? Like, even the people, like, so Stephen A. Smith, one of his positions is that, okay, yeah, that was murder. You should get charged. But somebody else got 10 years. Why you get 35 years? Which I think is a legitimate question at the same time. But one of the things he's saying is like, well, that other person was charged with negligent homicide. This guy was charged with murder. I mean, obviously these are two different charges. So, I mean, that's kind of a reason of it's part of the charging. I mean, the sentencing factors. Then his other thing was like, well, there weren't any black people on the jury, and you're supposed to be judged by a jury of your peers. I mean, defense attorneys are involved in the jury selection process,
Right.
so
Even if he was judged by a jury of his peers, what did the facts of the case say? Where are we going with this? It's like, I mean, I'm okay with us having a jury of his peers. does the evidence show him actively doing this? Did he actually do it? Did he actually commit this? Do we have do we have any reason to think that a different jury would say, you you don't qualify for the full extent of the punishment of the law? I'm like, I don't know if we have any evidence to say that. I don't think that's true at all. I think he qualifies for punishment. Now we could argue about how much punishment, but I think he qualifies for punishment though. I think he
But that was the argument. That that was the argument. Well, first the argument was this is self-defense.
Hmm.
And the reason why I bring this case up is because there's so many ridiculous arguments. Like some people were like, he shouldn't do any jail time at all. They're all just targeting him because he's black. It's just a black man defending himself. The facts of the case don't really support that claim, really. But there are levels to the ridiculousness of the conversation. So
It's true.
to me, it's like you get these rationalizations. People just think like, yo, whoever, if they black, they should just get off, which
Right.
that's a ridiculous thing. I don't want to involve myself in that level of conversation.
That is racism, and we can outright dismiss it. It's like, okay, if you're going to be this biased, say he's part of the people who have melanin, therefore he can't be wrong. We cannot punish him. I'm like, oh, that's not how that works. Society can't function that way. That's not what we when we say equality. That's not what people fought and marched and died for. What you're talking about is a actual preference of immunity, and we don't have that, and nor should we. That's not how society works.
Yeah, but it becomes indistinguishable between because people don't have a reasonable
It's not critical
defense
thinking.
for this claim.
No,
It's not this.
we're not thinking critically. We're just saying, I like him. This person looks like me. Bad things have happened before, and therefore we shouldn't allow this thing to happen here. I'm like, oh, that's not a good reason. It's not a good reason. That's not a good reason. I hear you though. Bad things have happened.
And that's the thing, right? So that to me is the back door when we say like, because I would distinctly remember that you were saying like there's a history in the country that people remember
Mhm.
on some level,
Yeah.
and
Like
so that's the bad things have happened,
right.
right?
But that goes back to countering Mick Wharton's and Lowry's claim that like we're past the race thing. I'm like, we are not past the race thing. That whole claim is wrong. Nothing you say is right. I mean, that is a claim that they continually put out there because they are not personally experiencing the terrible things that have happened in the past, and that's fair. That is a thing to say. Like, hey, I am not experiencing this, and therefore it's not 1968. I'm like, that is great for you. I'm so happy you are not experiencing all the terrible in the world that could happen. That doesn't mean all the terrible in the world isn't happening. We really should go back to that point and retire. This is this a problem for somebody? How much of a problem is it for that somebody? Why? And what are we doing about that? What steps can be done in that real sense? And when grifters come in to actually take advantage of it and then make these outlandish claims like, getting actual murderers off, like all right, that's injustice. Now we're talking about injustice. So now
But it's
we're wrong.
indistinguishable at some point.
I
That's the
mean,
part that I'm confused with.
I mean, people have problems critically thinking, and they don't distinguish it. Sure, but between you and I, we can easily distinguish it and say, like, well, but see, over here justice happens, and over here we didn't do justice. So we can say that there is a real standard between if a person does a thing, a person gets a punishment, and there's a law for that. And we're like, oh, but okay. So sometimes they did the thing that was proven that they did it, and then they got the result that was prescribed for that. And sometimes that happens, and then sometimes it doesn't happen. When it happens, it's justice. When it doesn't happen, it's injustice. Doesn't matter if it's white. Doesn't matter if it's black. Doesn't whatever. We have
I mean, I
a standard.
I hear you. It's just so much nuance in there that to me you have to hold firm on the principle, like
Yes.
firm, like because if you leave any wiggle room in the, well, kind of sometimes people have had an experience that make them feel a certain way about reality and they're not perceive. Once you let that hole open,
Right.
then there's no integrity. There's no integrity in the position, and so. And when I say nuance, there's the nuance of the totally ridiculous claim that he shouldn't do any jail time in this particular example that I'm bringing up. But then it's the nuance into, well, such and such only got 10 years and he got 35 years. And so now it's it just seems that the argument is always how can we soften the blow in some way because this person is black because of the history. And it's not I'm like, yo, do you want him to get 10 years? Or do you think the other guy should have got 35 years? But what but that comes back to my point of, and this is for me a fundamental point that I wish I didn't want to make, but I do want to make about black people. It's like y'all are not rule setting people. Like we are not rule setting people because to
What
me
way?
because you've got to tell me what the rules should be, and that should be and this is getting back to my point of when you're trying to solve a problem, when you're trying to posit a principle, you have to do all of that work up front.
Right.
This is the rule. This is and that requires you can't do whataboutism. You can't say what about this and like you can't do it in the sense that that's the conversation, end of the conversation. You have to do it in the sense that okay, we've acknowledged it, but how do we now make a decision in the determination? And that's what I hate about it because if you're not in the mindset of solving problems, you can do whataboutism all day long. And at the end of the day, it's useless to me. Brainstorming is cool if it's
There's a
got a
goal.
point to it at
There
the
you go. You gotta you gotta be brainstorming towards something. And I don't want to because this isn't a black person problem. This is a person problem. And a lot of people just aren't thinking this through. And I think there's a very big need for people to have to be held like their feet held to the fire or accountability issue. Like there needs to be accountability when it comes to people putting out there like I have a concern and I have a perspective. I'm like, great. Does your perspective match up with reality? And does it match up with the morality of justice? Like, are we even talking about the same things? Because it's fine to have a thought and have a feeling, but it's better to have an actual argument backed up by data, reasons, evidence. And so, like, when we don't get to the point of having a argument that has reasons behind it, then I'm like, all right, then we're not actively having a debate or a conversation. You are just now telling me an experience you have, which is fine. You can say you have an experience, have a have a perspective, but that perspective is not prescriptive. Nothing you say is something I'm going to do because you just said you just felt the way, and I'm like, that's cool. I have feelings too, but like when it comes to our shared experience, what we're going to do, you need to bring an argument with reasons.
Yeah, and even with those prescriptions, man, when you say with reasons, a lot of time, see, because rationalizations are reasons too,
They
right?
people can use that as they do. You're because like you do have to be really specific. Like when I say reasons, I don't mean your experiences. I mean the things that we can both see in reality that we don't think are right. Like there are things happening. There are objective things happening. There are things we can both see and agree on. And if we can both see and agree upon them, then we can talk about how we want those things to change. If you're just having a subjective experience, I can't agree about how you want that to change. That's you. You're going to be in charge of that. If I have a subjective experience, I mean, I can't go to you and have you change it for me. That's me. That's my job. We only can talk about the objective thing we both can see. We both can influence.
That's the thing that's troubling to me because the reason why I said what I said is that that's the only way that you can get to an argument of why did he get 35 years and he got 10 years? Why are you not in the conversations of how to set criteria for sentencing?
Right.
Like I don't, it's almost like people will like, well, the law is this thing that we're not involved in. And when we get the outcomes, we can either accept or reject. But that puts you in like this secondary position, like this subservient position, which I hate. Like it's your system too. What do you think we're supposed to
What
do
are
with
you
it?
going to do about it? We are in this together. We made the system together. It's our responsibility together. It's not about me coming up with the solution and me coming up with fixing everything and doing it all for us. We are doing this.
Right. But then they just make it seem like, oh, the government just, and I am generalizing heavy, right? But a lot of people do this thing where they're just like, oh, the government just does what it does. And either I like it or I dislike it. And that's what I mean. What I'm saying, like, what do you think we should do? Under what is the criteria that would make us give a person more time? And those are never the conversations that I encounter. That's never the rule setting, the law setting nature. It's it's always I either like the consequence that was given to me or I dislike the consequence that was given to me. But it's always something that was given to me, not something that I set or help set.
Right. Right. And that's certainly a problem in the conversation to start at a place of weakness or dependence. It's like, oh, we can't start here. Doesn't make any sense. We don't have any control over that. Let's go back to the thing that we have control over. What are the things that we want to do about things we can actually handle? Yeah.
And some people just think the bad part about it, Josh, is some people think this is why you vote.
They
And
do. They do.
I mean, I get it, you voting for representation, but there are other areas of, government or bureaucracy or agencies that actually set these policies, or influence these policies.
Right.
Other people are doing this all the time.
All the time. And successfully. So I just don't think that's not where we should stop, but that is frequently how Americans approach this issue. They're like, that's one of the problems I have with people using the word democracy. They use it as a not a scapegoat, but as just a way to get rid of all responsibility. They're like, nope, we live in a democracy. They're just going to do it for us. I'm like, oh, that's not what democracy means at all. They're not.
Who
They're not going to like. Who is this? Who is this? They? What are you talking about? But frequently, people are just like everybody. All the anarchists all just want to get out there and do whatever they want until they find out that nature exists and that there are things that we need to come together to solve. I'm like, I don't think you understand anarchy or democracy. No, that's not how government works at all. We are not coming together and pooling our money so that we can all just take care of each other. That's not how that works at all. Like that is by definition not what we're doing. Anyway, people who have a hard time distinguishing voluntary participation versus the involuntary aspect of enforce, basically that government entails. They do not process the fact that the government is using the force to keep other people out and to keep everybody inside abiding by laws. They just ignore that part and they're just like, there's just a bunch of people together. We're all just hanging out and doing stuff. And see, that's what a government is. I'm like, you don't know anything about government or governing or how people work together at all. I'm not having a real conversation. You are just saying government, Congress meets in a building. They're a group of people. I had a group of people come over to my house one day and we had a neighborhood party and then we made a neighborhood plan and now we take care of people's lawns. And look, it's the same. Like just because people work together doesn't mean they are a government. But I hear you. That's as far as you've gotten in this conversation.
Yeah, I guess the thing that's more disappointing to me is when I'm talking about experts or people who actually work in these fields, litigators or lawyers, and even judges to some extent. But I think a lot of times when I've seen like judges really have to they kind of really have to know this stuff a lot. So I feel like when I've seen, for the most part, judges kind of aware of how this thing works. But once again, people are not really leveraging their influence. I just I really just want to know what do you legitimately think? What do you think should happen? But you cannot get these answers from people because they are not.
They
It's
don't
like
think about that.
it's almost like I would ask them, "Do you think we should lock up murderers?" I think they would give us as like, "Yeah, sure, sure, sure." So how much time should they get? And then I think you probably get into that. Well, it depends. And for situations like this, I just like this dude Karmelo. For some people, it's like free him. I mean, I saw black people protesting outside of the courthouse, yelling at the state troopers, the black state troopers, like, "You should be ashamed of yourself for what you letting happen in there." It's like this dude don't have no idea what the hell.
Right?
He's a state trooper, but this gets to a bigger point to me because I think I misspoke a little bit last week as well. Whereas though I think what I was saying might have came off like sometimes people are saying things that aren't happening. Yes, sometimes those are lies, right? But the real point that I wanted to make is that there's a level of delusion that's actually not lying. It's just delusion,
They lied to
you know?
themselves first, and they happen to be lying to you, but they lied to themselves long before you were in the picture.
Right. And that's the part that I was trying to say to you is even when Lowry was talking about Jeffries and he was dismissing his point and he was just like, yo, what is wrong with y'all? Why do y'all think this thing is happening? And to me, it was like you were saying, well, look, this thing is happening. And I'm like, of course we know it's happening on some level, but
Okay. As long as we can admit that
it's
part,
not,
as long as we're
I
acknowledging the
don't
part,
think,
like bad things are happening. Yes. Now, is it as widespread, as severe, as significant as it was in the past? I don't think so. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. Is it happening at all? Sure. Yes. Is the solution more racism? I'm like, definitely not. Def- Definitely not. That's the one part when people make the case like this law is inherently racist. I'm like, it is. It is inherently racist. Like, granted, a lot of other races have quote unquote have benefited from it, and that's cool too. But like, it's flawed on the outset. Should we change the wording? I'm like, maybe if that's going to fix the old law. Like, should we get rid of the whole law? I'm like, not without putting some protections in place because we didn't obey the old law. So somehow either fix the old law, which I'm open to, you know, or keep the new law and tweak it. Pick one. But like, I'm very concerned that we're just like, we're just gonna repeal the whole thing, just get rid of it. I'm like, we didn't do a good job last time with the old one. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't just throw it away.
yeah, I mean, and I think I don't think that was a good solution, to be honest. I mean, it's more of a reminder like, hey, we're going to do stuff because you ignored the original
Because you
law.
didn't seem like you
And
wanted to
so,
do that old stuff. You just didn't want to do the, the legal thing. So now we had to do an extra thing. So like, hey,
yeah.
please do the legal thing. Go back to that.
But noisiness never works though. It, it's passing the buck. I mean, I see it in logic even at work, right? Like I've got systems that I have to build systems because we're not using the primary system correctly. So I've got to build another system to fix the issues that isn't fixed at the source. Doesn't really work. It's really a ridiculous thing. It's an ineffective just this use of resources. And that never really works. It's band-aid thinking.
Yes, it is band-aid thinking. That's a good way of putting it. And it's frustrating because we don't have to do this. We've done this before. We know it doesn't work. It's foolish.
Yeah. I just always think like, what are they trying to get? And I don't want to like harp on the story that we already kind of discussed already. And just thinking like, what are they trying to get at? And I guess I was always just trying to figure out like, why am I not as bothered by this as he is? Or about some aspects of it. I don't think of the whole thing. But once again, like then the way that I think about it is I'm system thinking. Like for me, I'm always thinking about, well, what is the principle that I can apply to all of these situations that works consistently and a great number of cases. And when you get to like I'm thinking about a confidence interval within like statistics, it's 99%. Oh yes, half percent on that side, half percent on that side. You just got to have contingency plans. And then if you could say like, oh man, well people have had these experiences, and so all that sounds like to me is that black people are special and they need help. And I just don't look at black people like that, right? I am going to always have high expectations for them regardless. I'm always going to think that they don't tell me about black excellence. Show me black excellence. I don't want to hear you refer to yourself in that way. I just want to hear you. I want to see you do the things. That's all, so I know you can figure out this law thing. I know you can come out. I know you can do the science thing or whatever. That's what I want to see or whatever it is. It don't even matter what the thing is. I just want to see. I want to see it. I want to see it gone from a race thing to a people thing because people are having issues. Like people get the short end of the stick in all races.
They
So
do. They do, but there is a preference in America, I think, and I mean, I shouldn't say just America, in the world, but specifically America, 'cause that's where I live. So I'm just like, there are there is a significant bias in America where people in power look down on those without power, and specifically the people without power have been black, and that is enough to say like we are we we only claim special categories because they put us in a special category. And it's like, oh, that's terrible. I'm like, it is a terrible category. I think we should get rid of the categories. This is a terrible thing to do. It's not scientific, it's not genetic, it's not real, it's a social construct for people who wanted to divide the poor people, which I'm like, it was very effective. I acknowledge the fact that there is a reason why they did it. But like for people now to participate in it and to say like, well, we shouldn't do this anymore. And like, I don't think we should say the words. I don't think it helps to say the words like black people are claiming that they want special treatment. I'm like, that's not true. We're treated poorly. We would like to stop having the poor treatment. Poor treatment is the problem. We don't want to be given a leg up. We want you to stop actively oppressing the people. And that'd be a good start. And then when the grifters come along and they like, I want special treatment. I want you to give me quotas. I want you to make this happen this way. I'm like, hey, you need to shut the fuck up. You don't get that because that's not what anyone gets. We could say though, there are actual things you are angry about, and there are FHA loans and that you aren't getting. There are jobs you're being turned down for. There are things you're applying for in schools you're trying to get into that you're just being rejected outright, even though they are public entities. I'm like, well, that is injustice. And we can talk about actual injustice. It's like, hey, we should just leave the bar at like a normal bar. How about that? We just make the bar a normal thing that we all have the opportunity to hit. And I think there's a conversation to be had for that that's a little bit more effective than what we've had in the past. And that's the part that I want to see happen more frequently is having that clarity. Because sometimes people are like, well, it's unfair because I didn't have the ability to pay for all the things other people got. I'm like, well, you'll never have that. That's not unfair. That's life. Life's what you're mad at.
but I don't think you can. I don't think that you can fix or solve the problem with that perspective because those are the results of that perspective, and that's to me being solution oriented. Being around people who anything that you make, anything that you incentivize, or any loopholes that you leave, people are going to use them.
Yes, 100%.
Then that to me is an indicator of a bad principle because it just leaves open so many damn loopholes. They are unintended consequences. There are people who are like, all I got to do is do this and I can get the money. Yeah, I'm going to just do that and get the money.
Right. Definitely. There's no reason to leave loopholes like that. There's no reason to have those things. Those are the things we should stop, cut off, and make it not a claim. We should go towards a universal standard and make sure it's universally applied. That's the part that is not frequently done.
That's not realistic though. Like the universal standard is realistic.
Mm-hmm.
The universal application is not realistic. I don't even have any expectation of that. That's what we have a law system or judicial system for, in my opinion, right? So, because look at it like this. I think it kind of like, I don't want to sidestep the conversation. I'm just trying to introduce something that's similar to me. Because to me, Trump, the way Trump approaches the legal system is very much, I'm going to do the thing. I see the law. I'm going to do the thing, but maybe until they say I'm going to lock you up for doing the thing, I'm just going to try to do the thing.
That is exactly how he approaches the legal system. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I'm just saying that because like this is the whole reason why you don't leave like law fuzzy to me. It's
Yes.
because
This is the reason.
I don't even expect him to understand. I don't expect him to care. And it's not just about Trump. Anybody who's just out for their own stuff, they don't have to understand the law in the sense that they just need to know okay, this is the breaking point. They just not gonna let me do. They're not gonna let me do whatever I want with records disregard in this area. I don't care if you understand it or not. Just just know that that's the case. There will be consequences for breaking this principle, and you won't know that if you keep muddying it up with like these contingencies and what ifs and it needs to be universally applied to everyone. That's what arguments are for. This is what precedent is for. And arguing with cases that say this happened in this case and that happened in that case. And here's my abundance of of evidence to say that you charge this person with too many years. This is what the whole process is for. So I don't expect everything to be perfect. I expect the system to have a process.
Right. We expect everybody able to participate in that process. And we expect everybody to follow that process. And I think that's the key part that doesn't happen enough. We don't have enough people following through. And I want to see more of that being put forward, more of that being highlighted, and more of that being even protested and complained about. I'm like, when people show up to the protest, they should come with the clear point of, I was supposed to do this. The process is this. You didn't let me do the process. You are stopping me actively from participating in the thing that you say is right, and say that we agreed is right. The law says I get this. I'm not getting this. I want that to be the whole of the complaint.
I mean, I'm there with you, but I guess my question is always it's not always, it's going to be like, what was your responsibility here? Because I've been in situations like this before where even if I go back to school, this is how I learned from my mother. I learned this from my mother. Went to school, something happened, I got in trouble. And I was like, "Ma, I didn't even notice this thing was was the law." She was like, or the rule. She was like, "It's your job to know it,"
Right.
you know? And I had to learn that I need to go and figure out the things that I need to figure out, you know?
100%. You don't do it,
And
you are still responsible regardless. Regardless.
yeah, so when I hear people are like, "Yo, I got redistricted," it's like, did this just happen 5 minutes ago? It was in the last 2 days. Is that within the law? If that's what's within the law, then that means you should have understood that, or someone should have understood that, right? And if you don't understand that, that means you don't have people in place that are paying attention to the law or involved in creating the law, or even just watching the law and maybe disseminating the information. But I, this process is not like foreign. People know how to navigate this process. Why is it not being
Why
navigated
is it not
well?
being navigated well? What is the thing that's changing? Why is it changing? Why is it not effectively being done or effectively being demonstrated in a way that's either beneficial to you or at least understandable? Yeah. Yeah.
And and because I'm thinking of myself in this position I'm talking about with my mother, it's like sometimes the paperwork said it's like read the fine print.
Yes.
If you're saying, hey man, the fine print was too fine and I didn't read it, and then when I popped up, it's it was not to my advantage. And then somebody said, well, that's not a case to me, right? And I get it, but and this is why it's disappointing to me because I feel like, once again, I don't feel like black people are any lesser. Why is it that someone can't figure out what the law is saying? Why is it that somebody can't interpret what the law is saying? And a lot of times it's not even gonna be a black person that's going to interpret what the law is saying and communicate it to the black people. It's a lot of times it's somebody who's non-black
Yeah.
who's doing this, who's trying to look out for the community.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. And then when there are those times where people have the opportunity to know, have the responsibility to know, and they fail in that responsibility, then I'm like, all right, that's the thing that's fixable. That's something that we can say, we can call that out, we can point that out, we can say, look, this needs to get done. And when they complain, And like this goes back to, hey, this is life. Life is not easy. It's not fair. It's not hard. I'm sorry, it is hard, and therefore you're going to have to take some of these lumps and learn from these mistakes. But then there are times where like people do the things in the right way and they get screwed over anyway. And this we have a process for this. We have a literal law that says you can't do that. Now that someone has broken the law, it is time to you do the part where they hold people accountable to say these this part of breaking the law has to stop. And sometimes the solution in the past has been to pass more laws, which is not my favorite choice. But that is sometimes when what has happened to hold people accountable. And I would love to see people actively follow the laws that are going to create, universal flourishing, general justice for the people who we say we care about, meaning the ones who are in this country. Like the citizens deserve equal representation and equal treatment under the law. That's what they were promised. That is our job as a entire country and as the people in power. So that is what I'm looking forward to seeing happen more frequently.
Oh man, that's okay. I mean, it's hard for me to get excited behind that in the sense that when I think about the philosophy, when I think about the doctors, some of the, like the pseudoscience or whatever you're saying that you've come across, and I think about the bills that people are creating, I don't see I don't see a pathway forward that's that's just.
In what way? Why wouldn't there be a way to make that happen?
Because ridiculousness is tolerated, even
Yes,
even at the
really.
small level. And whenever small levels of ridiculousness are tolerated, growing more and more levels of ridiculous will be tolerated. And to the point that you can't really tell ridiculousness from truth. And everything's arbitrary. Everything's subjective at some point. Because you can't really even enforce ridiculousness, and then it's just going to end up being some arbitrary thing at the end of the day. So I don't see how you escape that because it's like even with like when you say peer review, like I remember Peter Bargosian and some other dude did this. I think I told you about this. They did this. It's like a joke. I don't even know, a prank or whatever. Basically, they were submitting things for peer review that had no real research behind it, but they were kind of leaning towards left-leaning ideas. And peers, they were getting peer reviewed for papers that really didn't have any scientific back into them at all. But it would be something that affirms someone's bias already. Like there's no there's no evidence for genetic men and women or stuff like that along those lines.
Okay.
And and so to me, when you take the guardrails off, when you take those guardrails off, there's even in the slightest, man, it's the order versus chaos. It's the feminization of society. And when I say feminization of society, I'm not saying it from my perspective. I'm saying like even with the the woman that we saw on the New York Times debate with the two feminists against each other debating. This is why people get the perception that feminism is taking over society or wokeness is equivalent to a feminine perspective. It's the guardrails don't need to be so tight. You should just loosen them up just because people feel a certain kind of way. Even if it's a little messy, we can work it out. And that's just not order,
It's
right?
not order.
That's
That's chaos. That's at least that's closer toward chaos than anything else, and that's clearly not okay. Meaning that can't keep working. That can't well, it doesn't work, and it can't keep happening if we want things to stay functional.
right. But I'm all for order, but it seems to me that the men, I don't want to, I'm not saying men. I'm saying the idea of order that is frequently equated with masculinity or some other framework or something like that. I'm talking in idea sense. Seems to be lax and like, well, I've been called a bad person because I like order. And maybe I do need to open my mind to something that I don't understand worth of shit. And let me just accept some things that I don't understand because I've been chastised and scolded for it. And then that's the door. That's the back door. So for me, I don't accept anything unless you give me good, clear reason.
Right.
And I'm strict and rigid in that. I don't want to be strict and rigid in the sense that I'm believing things that aren't true, but I want to be strict and religious and rigid to the sense that, hey, there's reason for this. Let's do something exact and precise.
Yeah. That's a that's a fine place to put your flag and say, all right, this is something that we have to have. We have to have some sort of clarity around this. We need to have this precision around what it is that we say we mean, what we want to see, how it's going to happen. We need to have that clarity if we're going to work together. There's no reason for us to guess. There's no reason for us to go back and forth on this and just live in a realm of, well, I kind of sort of felt like this one time, so this was the truth, and this is the truth to me, and this is my truth. It's like, no, see, we're talking together now. You use your mouth to open up. You said words into the space where the public is. So now you have to say things that we agree on, or at least things that we can understand. You have to at least start with understanding. You don't have to agree on every single thing, but like you're gonna have to use words I understand with meanings I understand, and you have to actually from a shared perspective here. Let's work toward a common ground. Then reach a common value, so we can work toward a common goal.
That's not the goal for the opposing argument. And you can't integrate that into it's it's non-definitive. It's undefined. And this is I think sometimes it's difficult to escape like spiritual thinking and thinking like good versus evil because when you start seeing these connections, if you don't say them out loud, it just seems like you crazy. What do you mean feminism and wokeism and masculine and feminine and blah, blah, blah? It's like, yo, it's the inability to give parameters. It's the undefined. It's the not providing definition and guidance specifically.
Right.
And this relates to the whole idea of, well, do we give them 35 years or do we give them 10 years? Well, I don't know. I just don't like this case. And I think that this case makes sense. What does that mean?
Right.
You know, you see this in relationships with men and women. Like, well, honey, what you want to do tonight? Well, I don't know. I I just thought you would do something better or something good. It's like, babe, what did you want? It's like
I shouldn't have to
I'm
tell
not. It's
you,
not
like, but if you shouldn't have to tell me, then you shouldn't be able to complain. Like you get that, right? That if you don't
right,
communicate at all, you can't be surprised that you didn't get what you wanted. You just have to take what you get.
right, and that's the reality of it.
That's the
But
reality of
nobody
it.
wants to hear that, though. That's you can't say that part.
I mean, you can say it. It just will cause a fight, and you will not reach the happiness you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, there's no benefit to it, I guess.
There's no benefit to doing it. But sometimes I just say what I think. I'm like, don't do that. That is not the same as having a positive interaction. I'm like, no, no, it is not. It did not yield the results I wanted. I'm like, oh, stop doing that. Listen.
Yeah. I mean, I think those are things that we had to work on in society going better. I do think that there's an aspect of it that you have to learn how to communicate what you want to say in a harsh way. And a lot of times, guess what? People won't even listen, but you've said it already. You put it out there.
You're right.
You
And
know, you see this, you see it in men and women relationships a lot because a man will be like, look, I'm not really interested in settling down. I want you to know I'm out here and this is just a situation, blah, blah, blah. If that man likes that, if that woman likes that man, and look, it probably works the same way in reverse. But if that person likes that person, they probably like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I want what I want.
there you
You
go.
know what I'm saying? You know, but yeah, that's the whole thing that I'm saying. Like, is without definitions, I don't know how you pull those people into the conversation, and then because it's almost like this the line that divides. Like you all are saying you're saying this and you're saying that. It's like, well, we have to say something definite and specific. What would you like to say? And you're not getting that from them, and that's why you can. To me, that's related to the whataboutism. That's when you don't have definitions. Well, what about the third 327th thing in the order of priority? and the 1266 thing. Those are important too.
right?
That's
Can't
that's
ignore
not how
that.
I make a decision.
No, it's funny. It's sad, but it's true. 'Cause you're like, I get it. There are some things you're concerned about. Not all these things are relevant. I mean, they're relevant. They're they're concerning to you. You have a feeling. I get that. But they're not relevant to us doing this thing today, now even.
Right. But this all relates to the whole concept of deconstruction, in my opinion, the philosophical orientation of deconstruction, the whole postmodernism, Derrida
Yes.
stuff.
Yes. It makes me so sad and upset that philosophy just let go of its moral grounds, but also its rational grounds, and just allowed post postmodernism to take any effect at all. Like to give it any credence at all, and even call it philosophy was just too much. I'm like, it's fantasy. It's fantasy when we leave evidence alone. I think that was a huge mistake that philosophy went into. It's like these sort of kind of things, these things sort of kind of might happen in life, and therefore it might be true. It might be less probable, but maybe it is probable or possible. I'm like, but it isn't. It isn't possible. It's never been observed ever in the history of mankind. It's unlikely to the point of being completely wrong. Well, that's just your perspective. It is. It's my perspective of that something is completely wrong is wrong. It's I kn- I know that sounds like a tautology, but we have to acknowledge that some things don't exist. They don't exist. It's not that we don't like them. They don't exist. And so when someone comes up and says like maybe the world is just my own my own imagining out of my own head, I'm like, well, maybe, but there's literally no evidence of that, and you can't actively prove that. So we can't take that as like, oh well, it's a possibility. In a sense that someone could say that out loud, sure. In a sense that of being real, no, it's not real. It can't. It's not. This is not a philosophy we should entertain. This is not something that we should say like, well, who could say? I guess everybody can just make it up as they go. I'm like, we don't. We don't have to do that. You are in a. You are in a academic discipline. You are allowed to say this is a boundary we have. Our discipline encompasses this area, and we're going to talk about that. If you get out of the area, then we're going to call it not the discipline. It may be interesting. It may be an idea you might want to work on later, but it's not. It isn't what we do here in the philosophic range, and that's something that's just sad.
I will tell you that on that philosophy conference that I went to, one of the presentations was, and the argument was, if philosophers are not arguing from a deconstructive perspective, basically it's wrong. Like you should be arguing from a, if you're not doing deconstruction,
Right?
then you're not really doing anything. This was basically her point.
I believe you. That's certainly a perspective to have, and if she would like to prove that, I would love to hear an actual argument. But
Well,
there aren't any. The argument is just like I like it, and therefore you should be doing it because it takes more effort to break things apart than it does to accept what you're already given. I'm like, but it doesn't take more effort than building something from scratch.
but see, this the thing though. Oh, go ahead.
That's it. I mean, that is my point. When deconstructionists make their point that if you're not deconstructing, you're not even doing anything. And I'm like, if you didn't build anything, there'd be nothing to deconstruct. So if you're not building anything, you've actually not started philosophy yet. That's not
I
decon-
mean, well,
philosophy
I mean, like,
basically has to be started first before you deconstruct it. And if you pretend that deconstruction is all there is, then I know you're not very good at building.
well, that's the thing. Like, but to do deconstruction, you have to accept something that's already there in some fashion or form,
There you go.
right? But then we get back to the acceptance, right? And it's just it's a weak approach to things. I already, it's not that I don't believe it, right? So the more interesting part to me about it is there's a disconnect within a certain mentality that allows deconstruction to challenge its integrity. And then I think is that the mentality of constructing, of like an unconscious construction in a sense. You have to be aware of your framework because a lot of these things are social constructs. Don't get me wrong. But some people think that a social construct is an element of nature or a fact of nature. And they just say, oh no, this thing is real. Like
Mhm.
human love is real, or what is something else? Like the structure of the family is like people when they give the structure of the family, they're not saying it in a way like the structure of a family. There's some biological dependencies there, but the idea of a family that people are arguing, that's a made up thing. So people will say, well, what about when I have friends that I really like and I call them my family? And then what about your cousins and this, that, and the other? And it's like, we got to be really clear about what we're
Yeah,
saying
it's
when we're
time to
talking
define
about
our
things.
terms because you are now describing all bonds as familial bonds. That's a mistake. That's an overgeneralization that makes me think you're not very good at this. Let's go back to what words mean, and let's start there.
True, true. But I just think the back door that's open is the people who accept these ideas and concepts without challenging them at all. And that's the thing that's troubling to me because that's what you see. That
Just
of
let you
course
see.
there's a family bond. This is what when you say, well, this is a father has to be in the home. That's a result of that kind of a mentality in me.
I
It's
mean,
not that I'm
that's
saying a
bad.
father in the home is a bad thing.
Right,
Go ahead.
right. I think because I hear what you're saying, and you're right. There are people who accept certain social constructs and say this is a tradition. This is what's been done before. This is what other people have accepted, and now I'm accepting it too. And therefore, this is the way it is. This is the way it should be. Tradition is prescription. It's like, oh, okay, that is a crazy way of thinking. I get it. It's functional on a bare minimum level when things don't change. There are ways that this can that you can live this way and not bump into reality. Fair, sure. People have made that mistake before, and it.
Right.
I guess for me, I hear people say like, "Oh, father should be in the home," or like a father has to be in the home, whatever. And I'm like, I interpret that as I don't take them literally. I interpret like the meaning behind this statement is that fathers have a role and their role is important and their role is unique. Like, okay, yeah, fathers are unique. I believe that. Yes. So anyway, I have to reinterpret what they're saying into a meaning that I can process. But that's sometimes not what they mean. Sometimes they really just mean like, hey, I saw it one time. My dad was in the home. Therefore, I have to be in the home. And otherwise it isn't a home because I'm if I am the man and then the man man has to be in the home for it to qualify, then that's what I've seen in the past, and that's what has to happen in the future for this to exist in my mind. And I'm like, well, what I would. That's not what I'm taking from this. But I hear that there are people who live in that world. A lot of them are too. I mean, like most people, to be fair.
Hey, and I mean, I think you can even point to even more than that, like statistics as far as, what's happening with children and all of that stuff.
We gonna talk about benefits. There are reasons. Some people don't use those reasons. Some people just skip to the tradition, and it's like that's enough. I'm like, that's a good start though. I'll take a working tradition, a functional tradition, over a postmodern guess. Just like, hey, I just do whatever I want in my home, it still counts. Like, I mean, it makes you feel better, but it doesn't actually achieve the same outcomes that the other things achieve. We need to at least figure out what question are we answering? Are we trying to feel better? Are we working for pleasure? Are we just trying to get out of the human suffering loop? Or are we trying to build something? No, I don't have that. These are all internal thoughts I'm thinking as I'm going along. I'm like, yeah, we're really not even reaching the same. We're not aiming for the same thing, or even talking about talking about solving the same problem. Okay, fair enough. Let me.
People aren't talking about solving problems, period, really.
All right, it's a struggle.
Yeah. But I brought all of that up to say I shared this link with you, and I came across this dude. His name is Jim Palmer. He's an author. He writes this Substack called Deconstructionology. I read his stuff, and it's like I'm reading my stuff. It's just crazy, right? He putting together all the pieces from the philosophy and everything. Basically, he was a reverend or a priest or something like that. He did all of this, had a big church, pastored a big church, and then somehow it broke apart a little bit. He touches on the whole idea of philosophy, replacing this idea of, spirituality. So he doesn't just like he talks about the same stuff that we talk about. Some of the things that he writes about in the Substack is very much about integration and construction, and they get into it in here as well. It's longer. It's a good video. I haven't finished it yet, but he he actually digs into those ideas, and I think it's interesting even when he brings it up, like when people try to do this belief system swap, and like people who even escaping religion, some ways are like they're trying to figure out, well, what do we? Okay, without this religion that I'm in, what do we do about the devil?
Mhm.
Or what do we? It's like, wait, you've got. I know you've built all of this stuff up. You can't really just operate over here in this space with those same foundations.
No,
They don't. They
doesn't
don't work
translate.
like that. So yeah, it was just. I think it's a good. I don't get conversations like this a lot. But what I do tend to understand or notice is that a lot of times when I hear the best conversations that relate to me, is someone who has had some sort of experience in religion. Because and he says this in his videos, like religion was the thing with religion is that even though he might not advocate for it, was like it was created to deal with something real.
Exactly.
Right. You know? And so we may have other techniques to deal, but you can't just ignore that thing that really needs to be addressed. You could get out of religion, but you're still gonna have to figure out what
Or
to
make
do
meaning
with
somewhere.
that.
Need some sort of have life orientation, need some sort of origin story, you need some sort of clarity about self-concept, who you are, where you're going, what makes things right, what makes things wrong, where is your morality lie, why. You gotta have some sort of standard and story.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is just one of the things I caught up on. Actually, when you talk about self-concept and all of that, that was part of the John McWhorter and Coleman Hughes um, conversation.
Nice.
He was just talking about self-concept and when I think he was trying to more related to a conservative approach side of politics. Who that's one of the things I think that's what I remember, but whatever. Yeah, man. So
Yeah.
just some interesting, good stuff. I'm trying to load up my feed. I don't know about you, but I watch a lot of YouTube, and I also noticed that YouTube allows you to make your own custom pages now. You saw this?
No. What do you mean?
So you can create your own so you can conversational AI create your own custom feed.
Nice. You can make
So
your
you
own
can say,
algorithm. I like it.
yeah. So it's like something on the side and then and you just say, show me videos about X, Y, and Z that within the last year that blankety blankety blank.
Nice.
And it won't necessarily make your feed only that, but it'll try to make your feed
Try to include
mostly
people.
that.
I'll take it. We complain a lot about how people just kind of throwing random stuff in our feed, and we're like, "Ah, everybody's just manipulating us in ways we don't like." Like, we could customize this. I mean, there's no one forcing us to watch shitty videos. Just, just say we could just stop
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times it's a result to yourself though, because I watch a lot of I wouldn't call them shitties. Like sometimes I'm not in the I am
Unhelpful,
fully here there.
unhelpful videos. I've seen plenty of unhelpful videos in my time, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't have to do this to myself. I wasted hours doing something I didn't need to do, and I did not expressly want to do. It did give me an escape. It did bring the temperature down. It kept my outrage from going too crazy. So I guess there was that. But there are probably other ways to cope. I didn't have to just, scroll to find the most random or offensive things possible. I could have actively tried to learn something or tried to find something that was going to reinforce the life I want to see.
That's fair, man. Yeah, it's always good to have that type of stuff. I just need to remind myself to, even if I don't want, I always want to subscribe to things like that. And in that way, it'll get my feel. Like even that Baloo guy,
Mhm.
whatever, that I saw one of his videos. It don't have nothing to do with me. It's about about racism or culture in England. And I'm like, I don't live in England, but this is interesting
Yeah,
because it's about values and stuff.
there you go, and that's the key part. Like, he's a really interesting dude. This like this Tom Bilyeu dude. Like, he started Impact Theory after he was doing the whole Quest nutrition bars thing, and he became a billionaire and did his stuff. And he's like, I'm good. I have enough money. I don't want to do anything else. I'm gonna retire. And so he retired from the whole deal, and then he like making this show, and like he has some really great. Like, I learned he's one of the first people who actually start actively breaking down like this is what business is for. You can grow as a human being and actually be good at things, and then you could use that thing that you are good at to like effectively create value, and then lead teams to create value, and then create companies to create value, and then grow throughout all that process. And then eventually, you can just sell it. You don't have to stay there. I'm like, man, that's that's exciting. But he kept on interviewing really cool people. Like, if you get a minute, Jay Samit has a really, really great story. He interviewed James Altucher, which is like my all-time favorite INTP. I love so that
Oh
was
yeah.
awesome. And so that was a good one. And Rob Dyrdek. I don't know if you're really into like execution, but like the crazy skateboarder Rob had the like one of the best interviews of all time. I was
Okay.
shocked. So if you get a minute, they're long. They're like, good 45 minutes to an hour long, but they're really, really good. Really, really
No,
good.
it's all good. I'm a I'm subscribed to him now.
Nice.
So
Yeah, he's in a the world is ending kick right now. And you know, he's not 100% wrong. Bad things are happening, but like his take is not super useful for me. I'm like, I hear where he's coming from right now. I just don't like it. Like, I can't use this. But if I'm gonna trade today, I could use this to maybe think about bad how much panic people are going to have on the market and use this as a way to go. But anyway, regardless, if you go through the old things, his old
oh, stop.
impact theory videos from somewhere between 2012 and 2018, he has a lot of the highlights that are some really good things. If you get bored, I'll send you a list of my top like 20 episodes, because like every good one he's done, I've downloaded. I just replayed it in my car over and over and over again, just so I can like get it in my head. Like, this was brilliant. That was a really good idea. I should put that to action. I should do that in my life. That is what I need. Okay, good call. Anyway,
See, but you like stuff like that.
I
You like those process-oriented
this
things.
process stuff, self help stuff. I'm like, I'm all about this. More of this, please. Every day, all the time. But it's just cool to me that there were some people who have really interesting stories and enough insight into their stories to say like, hey, I made this mistake. Don't make it. Good call. Next one. So anyway, there's some good parts in there that aren't just process like do this, do this, do this, do this. Some things are just like, I did this and it was great. I did this and it was great. I did this and it was great. I'm like, I could learn from that. Okay. Thank you. So anyway, check out Altucher, check out Rob Dyrdek, and check out Jay Samit. Those are like some my top three. Technically,
I mean,
if you if
I
you if you
can't
like
really
if you like storytelling, Lisa Nichols has like the best storytelling. Like, she does a chicken soup for the soul kind of approach, and so she always speaks in a way I think is really engaging. And I thought that was next level storytelling. But that was oh man, and there's an Alex Hormozy one too. But I get excited.
see, I think for me, I don't know that I gravitate to all that, and I'll check a lot of damn videos here,
Yes.
man.
Yes, man. It is crazy. I try not even to recommend stuff because I get excited too fast. I'm like, you should watch all these days and days and days worth of stuff. I'm like, maybe they don't need to watch everything immediately. We'll just, one thing at a time.
Yeah. I mean, but at the same time, like I get it for people making shows, you're looking for content and it's a means to learning, but at the same time, but everybody has their particular thing
Yeah.
that they want to do. And I think you always have to stay true to the show goal. Because a guest could go to 10 different shows and have, say, 10 different things because that particular show requires something of the guest,
Right.
right? And so I think it comes down to what does the person want to talk about, in my opinion. Because the one that I caught, it wasn't even about anything that was relative to my life, but like I said, it talked about value. So it was talking about basically a conservative approach or religious approach in England or wherever the hell they were, because of how the guy was looking at Pakistanis and how the Muslim culture wasn't meshing well with the English culture. And so it was this conversation about values at the end of the day. Because that's the only way for me, I hopping around. I like the big ideas because I can apply them to everything. And I can relate it to my life always. So when somebody's like, yeah, but Bitcoin can do this tomorrow, and I really don't care, unless I need to do something with Bitcoin at that time, I'm not really interested. I'm not stacking ideas in my mind for a different time, really. I'm really like, unless I need to do something specific,
Mhm.
well, I need to do this thing.
Right.
I need a video on how to do this thing. That's it. Once I've accomplished that, I'm done. I'm back to my values system, full system stuff. That's pretty much what it is.
Nice. Nice.